Okay, so we're back with another Percy Jackson and the Olympians episode review. This time following up with episode 3, we visit the Garden Gnome Emporium, which of course, if you've read the books, is the fateful encounter with Medusa. And this was probably one of my most highly anticipated moments of the season, so I was very hyped for this episode. And so yeah, book spoilers ahead. Let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's jump into it. Okay, so we start off with Percy alone in the attic, ready to go and speak to the Oracle of Delphi. Because when you're sent on a quest from Camp Half-Blood, you need to get a prophecy about it from the resident Halloween decoration, as Percy says. And I enjoyed this scene, where Percy's told by the Oracle that he's going to get betrayed by a friend. I wonder who that will be. But yeah, I was also sort of uneasy during this scene, and I couldn't get into it and enjoy it at first, because, I don't know, I feel like everybody in the world at this point is hardwired to expect there's going to be a massive jump scare when you have somebody lurking in a crowded and dank attic. I was expecting her to appear behind him and scream in his face or something equally disgusting. I did not expect her to turn into Gabe though. That did make me laugh. Did this happen in the book? Because I can't quite remember it. But regardless, excellent decision. And just the disdain that oozes out of Percy towards this man, it's not even hate, it's just disdain for what he perceives as a pathetic life form. And I gotta say, having seen at the end of the episode how they handled the Medusa thing, I do wonder if they're even gonna bother killing off this guy or just have him get dumped by Sally, because, I don't know, the way he's been portrayed in comparison to the book and the films, it feels like you don't have enough time to sell the audience on just how terrible this guy is before you have the protagonist encourage his mum to murder him. I truly think that Sally should just toss his ass out instead. Also, side note, does it feel a bit mean from the supposedly benevolent Chiron that this woman's just kept in the attic alone until she's needed? At least put the poor woman into a nice bedroom or something like that. Jeez, Chiron, have a heart, son. But yeah, back to the actual episode. Really enjoyed how the prophecy was rather specific, but also really vague, with a number of clear misdirects if you've read the books. Namely, the betrayal, who is not Annabeth or Grover, but actually Luke, and the god who's turned, which feels like, based on context of the episode, would be Hades, but it ends up being Ares instead. It's actually very clever. I do love a good twist. Anyway, they then have a big camp meeting where Chiron explains the upcoming quest, which is to go to Los Angeles, which is where the entrance to the underworld is, because of course it is. And they have to face down Hades to get back Zeus's lightning bolt and get back Sally Jackson. Yeah, I'm not really sure how this quest would have turned out if Hades had legit turned evil though. How are 3 demigods, or rather 2 demigods and Grover, gonna take him on? Especially just young rookie demigods. This quest feels doomed to fail. But yeah, Percy chooses Annabeth, without really listening to who Chiron suggests or caring who else he could take, before going to find Grover, who, for the crime of convincing Percy to actually go on the quest, when he'd already refused the order of Chiron and Mr. D to take it up, is doomed to shovel horse crap. Lovely. Also, the Black Pegasus, who apparently has poor dietary choices, is this Blackjack? I feel like showing a Black Pegasus once or twice already in the previous episodes, you'd probably be able to assume that this is actually him, but you never know. But yeah, in his desire to avoid being betrayed, Percy picks Grover, as he trusts him most out of everybody he knows. And so, despite prophecy, he can't believe he'd actually betray him. And I gotta say, it's nice to see their friendship sort of restored. They do have some pretty good moments this episode, so I'm excited to see how the friendship develops over time. Also, I gotta say, this dude claiming he's gonna pack the best snacks, and yet they run out of snacks like a day into their journey. Grover, mate, what is going on, son? The dude's the worst guardian ever, right? His success rate is just so low. Thalia dead, or rather, Thalia a tree, Sally getting abducted, Percy almost killed by the Minotaur, now forgetting snacks after promising to pack them? Damn. We then have a scene that makes me a little sad due to prior knowledge. Luke giving Percy the flying shoes, a pep talk, and then them having a bonding experience. Seriously, it's crazy how they've managed to give this really sus sort of jock guy a really wholesome vibe that makes me, a book fan, almost forget that he's the big bad, even for a moment. Their bond feels brotherly, and it feels real. And I can already taste the salty tears of the casuals when it's revealed that he is the traitor, and pretty much orchestrated this whole sequence of events to get his own form of revenge on the gods. I really just think the two actors have really good chemistry. Some of the best chemistry in the show so far. And I'm very sad that it's going to come to a halt soon, and then we'll have them as enemies forevermore. We then get a little bit more Thalia exposition about how she was turned into a tree by Zeus to prevent her getting killed by the Furies, and of course, Percy can't resist talking some shit about Zeus. Based. After all, the grand and all-powerful god not being able to think of anything better than turning her into a tree to save her life? I mean, true. Come on, is that seriously the best he's got? If he can intervene like that and turn her into a tree, why not have, I don't know, a gust of wind come along and carry her safely to camp? What a clown. But yeah, of course, Annabeth is a bit mad at Percy for talking shit, because yeah, it was her friend. And so this sets her off, and she pretty much tells him that he ain't shit and should listen to her or he'll get killed. And also, that is fair. We then have a bit of a travel montage where they go from Long Island to Manhattan. And isn't Manhattan where Percy actually lives? Why is he getting all interested in looking at the Empire State Building? Pretty sure they have not mentioned that that's where Olympus is, right? Right? That hasn't been revealed yet. Like, I get for the audience he's looking up at it because, you know, it's just laying hints and groundwork, but still, would this still be something noteworthy to him, seeing that building? They then hop on a bus towards New Jersey, and we learn that not only are monsters potentially coming for Percy, but even the gods might have a crack at him, particularly Zeus. And what do you know? Nobody actually told Percy this until he asked Grover why they couldn't just fly to LA. Seriously, Chiron, how the hell are you the mentor of heroes? I'm starting to see why the demigods seem to have a rather high mortality rate. This dude sucks! Anyway, the bus stops and Annabeth once again takes control of the situation and forces Percy to stay at the back of the bus next to the freshly used toilet. And all to ensure that monsters can't smell him over the stink of urine and shit. Oh, no thanks. Lovely. Also, how long was this bus trip meant to be, do you reckon? Like, if they hadn't had to escape out the window. Seems like a truly miserable experience. Also, I gotta say, I'm enjoying the dynamic here. Annabeth being overly bossy and controlling, Percy being overly antagonistic and argumentative, Grover being the peacemaker, but also not really wanting to deal with either of their shit. It's a really great starting point, and I'm keen to see how it develops on screen. Also, the consensus song, that is some beautifully cringeworthy stuff right there. I almost had to leave the room the first time. And I really enjoyed that my feelings were encapsulated by Percy and Annabeth in this scene. Just excellent. Annabeth then goes into the gas station and looks like she's really pondering that candy hard. Hard, I tell ya. And I get it, honestly. There's nothing worse than being faced with all the different flavors. Like when you stand in front of a fridge with all the different sodas. Stand in front of a shelf with all the different flavors of chips. How the hell are you meant to decide? And then there's also the nightmare of this. You have to guess what everybody's gonna like. That's nightmare fuel for me. I'd be too scared that everybody would just hate my selections. And so I guess she just feels like she'll take them all. Based. I feel like that probably played into it, but also, when was the last time that she would have even bought candy? She lives at camp full time, right? Whew. It's probably been years since she had access to a lot of this kind of stuff. I'd go crazy as well. And man, that just reminds me how terrible her parents are as well. Ugh. I really hope they don't take a sympathetic direction with either of them. Because they really just suck, but more on that later. Because it's at this point that Annabeth kind of clues into the fact that they're being stalked by monsters, and we get some actual cool and useful exposition about how monsters track demigods, and how there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to avoiding them. I enjoyed this sequence, because having it all be kind of smell-based, that was kind of lame. This works better, and it means that the monsters that are hunting you are probably specially tailored to hunt your weaknesses, and thus they have a better chance of killing you. Hence the high mortality rate amongst demigods. Actually ups the stakes for me. Annabeth then has a talk with Mrs. Dodds, aka Alecto, who's returned from the grave pretty quickly, and there's some good shit talking here, but I think Alecto did win the day with her cold Thalia diss. I mean, trash talking somebody you pretty much killed to her childhood friend? Damn, that's ice cold. She then offers Annabeth a chance to escape and continue on her quest, as long as Percy's left behind to die, but obviously we weren't going to have her betray Percy at all. So time to escape, but not before she straight up murks one of Alecto's sisters in the first battle of the episode, and the trio runs off into the woods. Seriously, this would be the first time she properly killed anyone in years, right? She just didn't hesitate. Knife to the neck, goodbye, see ya. Although I do think it kind of lowers the stakes when you know that these things can just respawn pretty much instantly, but that's okay. I also gotta say, how the hell did Alecto not catch them at all? She didn't have to get past many people. And I doubt they could just run fast enough to completely escape her eye line. Come on, what's she doing? And she can fly. And next we see them, they're actually just walking. Come on now, Alecto. They're not exactly running for cover. Maybe Hades did not send his best and brightest for the task. Percy, rather understandably in my eyes, is a bit pissed at their plight, wandering through an absurdly big forest smack bang in New Jersey. Must be a magical giant forest, I guess. And of course, more cracks in their team start to show. Like when Percy tries to convince them to go home, which results in Annabeth giving him a verbal dressing down. But the cracks aren't just in the team, they're also in the relationship between the gods and demigods. Like when Percy suggests asking Athena, Annabeth's mother, for help, which in turn makes Annabeth very angry and leads Percy to realise that his dad is not the only deadbeat in town. Athena is too, as apparently Annabeth has no way to contact her and ask for help, and she likely wouldn't do anything anyway. Yes, the hat was a one-off, and that's kind of sad. This episode actually really makes Athena seem like a massive arsehole. And good, because I gotta say, I've never really liked Athena. At least with the other gods, they do have sex with their human partners to make the demigod. So you can say, well, you did have sex with the gods, so you kind of get what you get. That's a consequence of normal human life. But imagine being just friends with somebody, like Athena, and having good intellectual discussions, and then one day she turns up with a baby and says, congrats, you're a dad/mum/whatever. I'm a goddess and I'll smite you unless you look after this kid, who's apparently our kid now. And also, I'm not paying child support and I'm never gonna visit. Also, have fun when the monsters start to turn up. Peace out. Like, good luck if you were planning on being child-free. Yikes. Anyway, their argument once again sucks in Grover, and here it's revealed that he was also her satyr protector, cementing that he has had a very, very bad run. Why does the council keep sending this dude out on missions? Whew. And then we finally meet Medusa, whose emporium they arrive at just as Alecto finds them. And honestly, Alecto was not trying very hard. She should have caught them so long ago. Very plot convenient if you ask me. And before they can fight, Medusa just walks out, says hello, and invites them in whilst Alecto cowers. And this is a big change from book to screen, because here Annabeth figures out who she is instantly, even before seeing her and talking to her. And this is followed closely by Grover figuring it out too. And yeah, this was a good change, because honestly they would appear to be deeply, deeply stupid if they couldn't put it together. Percy's still new to the world of the demigods, so it makes sense that he wouldn't cotton on so quickly. But for these two, it would damage their characters and dumb them down for the sake of sticking to the source material, especially Annabeth, so I'm glad they changed it. It was a good change. Also, I gotta say, the music for this whole finale section with Medusa, top tier. Really creepy, really atmospheric, and her acting was great as well. Really straddled the line between wronged and tortured soul and deranged serial killer who could snap at any moment. Really great performance for the younger actors to play off of, because I felt like they were really strong in this section too. And I think it was a performance that really also helped to up the tension the further along it went and the more and more unhinged she slowly got. But before they go in, we have Percy reference his mum's belief that Medusa's more than just a monster, which leads him to enter the house and have his friends follow behind him. And I liked this, because it gives him a chance for some growth, because he's both right and wrong. She isn't what she seems, but she's still dangerous. And I feel like this is an experience that's ripe to help develop his personality and shape his future decisions in the story. But yes, here we have the sympathetic twist to her character that I really enjoyed. A twist that shows that some monsters are made, and that she wasn't always evil. That the gods are not the benevolent beings that some characters would want you to believe. Poseidon got what he wanted from Medusa, and then ghosted her, leaving her alone to face the wrath of Athena, who instead of punishing Poseidon, punishes her for all eternity. All for the terrible, terrible crime of being tricked by a god. That's some nasty shit right there, seriously. The show is doing a good job in making me straight up hate these gods. Yeah, her going crazy and wanting to kill Percy and Annabeth and send their statues to Olympus it's not ideal, but she has spent thousands of years like this, completely alone, hated and feared. It's not an ideal lifestyle. And she wasn't even freed by being killed by the original Perseus, because now she's a monster, so she keeps coming back. Ugh. I get why she wants justice, I get why she wants revenge, and I get why she went crazy. And I kind of agree. From her perspective and from the perspective of many, Poseidon is a monster. And like I said in a previous review, I actually think they might be building all of this to have Percy straight up reject his dad in the end, or at least reject him for a significant period of time. For them to show that Poseidon is working to change over time, to reconnect with his supposed favourite son. To make that promise that all the gods have to make at the end of the series, to treat their children better, have more weight and more meaning. Anyway, he rejects her offer of help. She doesn't like that, she doesn't take it well, and she chases them into her creepy murder dungeon basement to turn them to stone. She starts monologuing here, she goes full serial killer before she is easily beheaded. And like, yeah, I know, I'm summarizing this scene here. Like, they do find Grover's uncle, and that's sort of sad, but it's not really that sad because we never actually met the character, and also we don't care enough about his bond with his uncle yet because Grover is still a rather fresh character in the grand scheme of things. So the big takeaway is that Medusa just dies quickly. And I know she also dies quickly in the book too, but in the book she's way more two-dimensional. Here, she had a lot more to give and they just killed her straight away. They build up all this atmosphere, all this suspense, the design of the dead peoples as statues, the music, the acting, it's all there, and then wallop, see you later, you're gone. Felt kind of unearned, do you get me? They then kill Electo, good riddance, goodbye, you suck. And Annabeth and Percy sort of put aside their issues after yet another fight, where they yell at each other for not telling each other about the offer from the monsters to betray the team. But then in turn, I think they kind of bond by both realizing that their parents are both deadbeat trash. And on top of that, they both realize that instead of just talking about their issues, they actively chose to save the other instead of listening to the monsters. So, for Percy, there's no betrayal just yet. And we even get to finish out this scene with the second go-around of the consensus song, when Percy cranks it out after deciding he wants to send Medusa's head to Olympus, mostly for the lols, and also as a bit of an FU to the gods, particularly to their parents, whilst masquerading it as a tribute. But yeah, it's mostly just a big middle finger to the parents, and I very much enjoy that. Nothing is going to make me like Poseidon and Athena at this stage, I think. They suck. At least with Zeus and Hera, who are absolutely trash, it's made clear that they suck, and they seem to embrace being bad people. But I feel like the book paints Athena and Zeus as a bit too good in comparison, but I do think they're doing something different with the show, parting the mist in this version to reveal that no, actually these two people suck. They suck, they suck. And I was also a bit sad to get teased about seeing all the gods and seeing Mount Olympus, only to get Hermes, Manuel, Miranda at the end, and that's all. Oh well. There's still time, I guess. And so yeah, that's the end of the video, end of the episode. And I would like to remind you that these have all been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it, hate it? Are you keen for the next one? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.